Hello folks, well, happy April Fool's Day. It is Thursday, April the 1st, and as such you can't trust anything that happens before midday today. I've been looking through the April Fools that have come up so far, and the ITV breakfast have announced that ITV will be producing a new show called Dove Island for lots of lonely birds which will be flown out to an island where they will have the opportunity to mate, which for some reason they haven't been able to do during COVID. How sad. Then Google has announced that it's banning April Fool's Day. Across the board, no April Fools. So that's another one. And then we've been told, grannies, you can't share your chocolate Easter eggs with your family. Oh no, sorry, that's true. That's true. Okay, this is the April Fool's quiz, and it is all about fools, jokes, comedians, all sorts of funny stuff like that. And dare say I will make some funny mistakes as well. So I hope you enjoy them, and let's get on with it then, shall we? I think it's 10 o'clock, so we can start. By the way, if any of you want to comment, you're very welcome to. There is a comment function, so do comment if you'd like to. Right, now the first round is going to be true or false, famous April Fools. And what you have to do is decide whether or not this April Fool actually happened, or whether or not it's just something that I've made up. Okay? So, number one. Panorama, the TV programme, covered an item about growing spaghetti on the mountain slopes of Italy. So they did some filming, and they covered the growing of spaghetti on spaghetti trees. Okay? Question 2. When a parish priest, the current Archbishop of Canterbury, preached a sermon wearing pink rabbit ears. It was a sermon for the Sunday school, and it was obviously around Easter time. At the service, he gave out lots of little eggs to the children. Okay? Number 3. Richard Branson got a huge air balloon to be made, which looked like a spaceship, and launched it. This led to countless reports of a UFO in the skies over Britain. So, did Richard Branson go to the lengths of having a balloon, an enormous balloon design that looked like a spaceship? Okay, number 4. When Boris Johnson was Lord Mayor of London, a hoaxer got through to him on the phone pretending to be a love child of his. So, when Boris Johnson was Lord Mayor of London, a hoaxer got through to him on the phone pretending to be a long-lost child of his. Did it happen? Okay. And then number 5. The Guardian newspaper published a whole supplement about the island of Sans Serif. And it was the whole thing, you know, climate, industries, all of this kind of thing. The only thing was that Sans Serif is actually not the name of an island, but it's the name of a font. And if you look down the fonts on your computer, you will see that it's still there. Okay, so that was round number 1. Now, round number 2, I'm being very daring. I'm going to attempt Spotify again. This is sounds, some music, some speech associated with famous comedians. So let's go, shall we? And because it's sounds associated with famous comedians, I don't need the name of any songs. It's the name of the comedian I want. Okay, so here we go.
Traffic and travel with Bulldog Conservatories.
Right, that was number 1. Have a think about which comedian or character that might be connected with. Then number 2, let's see, come on then. Come on, number 2, let's see.
Once upon a time. No, actually, we won't start with Once Upon a Time this time. We'll start with a picture. Just close your eyes and imagine the countryside in summer.
Okay, so that was the actual comedian that I want you to get. Quite a recognisable voice. So, who do you think it is? And then number 3. Come on then.
Oh, Bren.
Oh, Bren.
I'm very happy, Ness, and I'll tell you for why. Baby, when
Right, okay, now there are 2 comedians, actors in this. You can get a point for either of them, or both, you can get 2 points. And if you can't get their names, but you can remember the name of the programme that they wrote in which this song was featured, you can also get a point. So maximum 3 points on that one. Okay, now who is associated with this sound? Bit of a blast from the past, this. Okay, and then the last one, another sound that is connected with a comedian. Who is it?
No, you see, a lot of people don't realise the desperate importance of Wellington boots in Scottish culture. So this is designed to teach them.
Okay. Again, a very recognisable voice, that. So let's see what you get later on. Okay, now then. Well, that went surprisingly well. Let's hope it still functions when I come back to it with the answers. Right, the next round is on stand-ups. And I'm going to give you a quote or a joke from the stand-up and give you a little bit of a clue as to their identity, and you need to identify them, okay? So number 1, the first I come out with a quote and then I'll give you the clue. Corduroy hits the sweet spot between jeans and slacks. They're a trouser middleman. And the person who said this was a 36-year-old man from Kettering who is often on Mock the Week. So again, corduroy hits the sweet spot between jeans and slacks. They're a trouser middleman. And he's a 36-year-old man from Kettering, often on Mock the Week. Okay, number 2. Posh hotels have a turn-down service. I had never heard of this. There was a knock on the door and a woman says, "I've come to turn down your bed." To which I said, "Well, many women have in the past. Why should you be any different?" And this is a 45-year-old man from London. He's been on Live at the Apollo, Blank Blank's Big Show, and Blank's the Wheel. Blank Blank's the Wheel. I can't say the blanks because it's his name. I'll just do his quote again. Posh hotels have a turn-down service. I'd never heard of this. There was a knock at the door and a woman said, "I've come to turn down your bed." To which I said, "Well, many women have in the past, and why should you be any different?" And this is a 45-year-old man from London who's been on Live at the Apollo and has also had shows where his name is in front of Big Show and The Wheel. Number 3. I took my husband to the hospital yesterday to have 17 stitches out. That'll teach him to buy me a sewing kit for my birthday. And that was a 63-year-old woman from London who moved from psychiatric nursing to stand-up. Who was that? And her quote again was, I took my husband to the hospital yesterday to have 17 stitches out. That'll teach him to buy me a sewing kit for my birthday. Okay. And then question 4, number 4. All women should be naked at all times. What's the first thing that would happen? Straight men can't handle it. They can't get on public transport. They can't go into work. There's naked women there. They have to stay at home with the curtains drawn. And this means that women now run the world. And this was a 39-year-old woman from Dagenham. And she's appeared on Taskmaster, QI, and 8 out of 10 Cats. Okay? So, all women should be naked at all times. What's the first thing that would happen? Straight men can't handle it. They can't get on public transport. They can't go into work. There's naked women there. They have to stay at home with the curtains drawn. And this means that women now run the world. I think I'd have to have a cardi though. I think that's just a thought. And number 5, the last in this round. What Iran needs now is a more modern leader. A mullah light. And this woman is an Iranian-born British woman, 48 years old. She's been in 8 out of 10 Cats, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and various stand-up shows. And her quote again was, what Iran needs now is a more modern leader, a mullah light. Okay, right, now then, let's go on to the next session. Right, okay. And this is, Would I Lie to You? Would I Lie to You? And this is based on the famous panel game. And I'll tell you various ridiculous facts about myself, and you have to guess whether they're true or false. Okay? Right. Number 1. I once drank fermented mare's milk in the steppes of Mongolia. Yes, it was in a yurt. I drank it, and I'll tell you later all about it. Question 2. When I was 11, I was so bad at sewing that my grandmother had to visit every year to finish off my needlework project for me. Poor woman, you know, she was called in towards the end of term to finish whatever dress or blouse or whatever it was that we were working on. And of course, as a result, I became very dependent on her, and I can't sew at all. So it just serves me right, doesn't it? Question 3. When I was a teacher at a school fete, people threw custard pies at me. This was a very posh school in Clifton in Bristol, and the kids were quite hard to handle sometimes, and they took great delight in chucking custard pies at me in this school fete, and what I endured to raise money for our library. Oh dear me, it was a terrible day, not one I would want to revisit really. Question 4. My first drink of Coca-Cola, that's ever, was given me by a young Des O'Connor. My first drink of Coca-Cola was given me by a young Des O'Connor. And question 5, I'm just looking out because there's just someone passing by. Our house kind of is next to a field, which is like a kind of park. People walk their dogs in it. And I just saw a couple of people going past looking at me thinking, what the hell is that stupid woman doing? Okay, question 5. 3 burly firemen once had to rescue me from a locked ladies' loo. Okay, so is that true or false? Okay, locked in the ladies' loo. Right. Now then, I'm coming on to the dialogue, the last session. And this is where I say a bit of dialogue from a comedy, and you have to guess which comedy it is. You get 3 alternatives, and you have to pick which one it is. Okay, question 1. Who would he be like? Hitler or one of those mad fellas? Oh, worse than Hitler. You wouldn't find Hitler playing jungle music at 3 o'clock in the morning. And this is A, Father Ted, B, Dad's Army, or C, Citizen Khan. So again, who would he be like? Hitler or one of those mad fellas? Oh, worse than Hitler. You wouldn't find Hitler playing jungle music at 3 o'clock in the morning. And is that A, Father Ted, B, Dad's Army, or C, Citizen Khan? Question number 2. Is there anywhere they do French food? Yes, France, I believe. They seem to like it there. And the swim would certainly sharpen your appetite. You'd better hurry up. The tide leaves in 6 minutes. Is that A, Allo Allo, B, Fawlty Towers, or C, Monty Python's Flying Circus? And I'll do the quote again. Is there anywhere they do French food? Yes, France, I believe. They seem to like it there. And the swim would certainly sharpen your appetite. You'd better hurry up. The tide leaves in 6 minutes. Okay, and the alternatives for that is A, Allo Allo, B, Fawlty Towers, C, Monty Python's Flying Circus. Okay, question 3. Now, question 3, there are a couple of expletives. I have changed them slightly, but you can imagine what they are. Okay. Things have really changed. Girls might be about to notice us for who we really are. Well, you're fecked then, because you're a twit. Okay? Things have really changed. Girls might be about to notice us for who we really are. Well, you're fecked then, because you're a twit. Okay? And the alternatives for that are A, Mrs. Brown's Boys, B, The In-Betweeners, or C, This Country. Okay? Right, now next quote. What's wrong with saying funny? We all have one. I don't. You are one. And that is A, Dairy Girls, B, Are You Being Served, or C, Not Going Out. So that's again, what's wrong with saying funny? We all have one. I don't. You are one. And is that A, Dairy Girls, B, Are You Being Served, or C, Not Going Out? And the last question of the quiz in this dialogue section and in the quiz as a whole. Morris dancing is the most fatuous, 10th-rate entertainment ever devised by man. 40 effeminate blacksmiths waving bits of cloth they've just wiped their noses on. How it's still going on in this day and age, I'll never know. And that's A, Dad's Army, or B, Blackadder, or C, The Office. And again, we have Morris dancing is the most fatuous, 10th-rate entertainment ever devised by man. 40 effeminate blacksmiths waving bits of cloth they've just wiped their noses on. How it's still going on in this day and age, I'll never know. A, Dad's Army, B, Blackadder, or C, The Office. Okay, right, now then. So now let's go on swiftly to the answers. Okay, and our first section was True or False, Famous April Fools. And the first one was Panorama covered an item about growing spaghetti on the mountain slopes of Italy. And this was a true April Fool, and quite a celebrated one. In fact, you might well see it on telly when if some programme does a kind of resume of famous April Fools. It was in the days when people didn't eat pasta a lot, and so spaghetti was something exotic. Question 2. When a parish priest, the current Archbishop of Canterbury, preached a sermon wearing pink rabbit ears. This, unfortunately, is false. At least as far as I know, it's false. The idea of the Archbishop of Canterbury wearing pink rabbit ears is just precious, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's just absolutely lovely. And if any parish priests are watching, please do at some point preach a sermon wearing pink rabbit ears. I mean, I'd come and watch it. Right, okay. Number 3. Richard Branson got a huge air balloon made looking like a spaceship, which led to countless reports of a UFO over the skies of Great Britain. And that is true. And it's the kind of thing that Richard Branson would like to do, isn't it? Okay. Question 4. When Boris Johnson was Lord Mayor of London, a hoaxer got through to him on the phone pretending to be a long-lost child of his. Now, wouldn't you have loved that? Wouldn't you have loved to hear that on the radio? No, it's not true. That was false. Okay? And the last one in this round, the Guardian newspaper published a full supplement about the island of Sans Serif, which is actually the name of a font used in printing. And that is actually true. And again, it's one of those famous April Fools that are always looked back on this day. Okay, so now we go back to the sounds associated with various comedians. Okay, comedians and comic actors, to be strictly accurate. Right, now let's get on to this. Come on now. Right, okay. Number 1.
Traffic and travel with Bulldog Conservatories.
That was Alan Partridge, and it was part of his show on Radio Norfolk or Radio Norwich? I can't remember. Anyway, it was the traffic bulletin, and of course the actor who plays Alan Partridge is Steve Coogan, and you can give yourself a point for either or both on those. And the next one is a famous comedian, and it's him speaking.
Once upon a time. No, actually, we won't start with once upon a time this time. We'll start with a picture. Just close your eyes and imagine.
And that is Sir Lenny Henry. And isn't it? It sounds like it's a really nice story he's telling. Unfortunately, we can't listen to the rest of it because we've got to go on to number 3. And number 3 is... Ah, Bren.
I'm very happy, Ness, and I'll tell you for why. Baby, when...
Now this song comes from Gavin and Stacey, and the two actors singing in it are Ruth Jones and Rob Brydon. Rob Brydon, very well known for Would I Lie to You and various other stand-up and panel game appearances, and also an actor, as is Ruth Jones. Right, and now number 4. And this is one for the oldies. This was the theme tune to Dave Allen at Large. And Dave Allen was quite a cult comedian in his day. There's still a lot of people that like him. He was very irreverent. And you wouldn't watch his show if you were easily offended, let's put it like that. But a very funny man. And then the last one, number 5.
Now, you see, a lot of people don't realise the desperate importance of Wellington boots and Scottish culture. So this is designed to teach them a wee bit.
And that, of course, was the wonderful Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly. And it's lovely to hear his voice again, isn't it? He is so funny. Right, now then, we go on to the second round, answers. These are quotes from stand-ups. Corduroy hits the sweet spot between jeans and slacks. They're a trouser middleman. This is the 36-year-old man from Kettering, often on Mock the Week, and it's James Ancaster. James Ancaster, okay. Question 2. Posh hotels have a turn-down service. I've never heard of this. There was a knock at the door and a woman said, "I've come to turn down your bed." To which I said, "Well, many women have in the past. Why should you be any different?" This was a 45-year-old man from London, and his name is Michael McIntyre. And of course, he's been on Live at the Apollo, Michael McIntyre's Big Show, and Michael McIntyre's The Wheel. Okay, question 3. I took my husband to the hospital yesterday to have 17 stitches out. That'll teach him to buy me a sewing kit for my birthday. And that 63-year-old woman from London, who moved from being a psychiatric nurse to being a stand-up, is, of course, Jo Brand. the wonderful Jo Brand. Okay. Number 4. All women should be naked at all times. What's the first thing that would happen? Straight men can't handle it. They can't get on public transport. They can't go into work. There's naked women there. They have to stay at home with the curtains drawn. And this means that women now run the world. Well, this 79-year-old woman from Dagenham, who's appeared on Taskmaster, QI, and 8 out of 10 Cats, is Sarah Pascoe. Sarah Pascoe. And the last question in this round: what Iran needs now is a more modern leader, a Mullah Light. This Iranian-born British woman, who's 48 years old and who's been on 8 out of 10 Cats and numerous other programmes, is Shappi Khorsandi. Shappi Khorsandi. Right, okay then. And now the next one, Would I Lie to You? And this is about so-called facts about my life. And then the first one is, I once drank fermented mare's milk in the steppes of Mongolia. Yes, that's true. That is absolutely true. And it's absolutely vile. Let me tell you that. It is absolutely vile. So don't try it if you get the chance. On the other hand, Mongolia is spectacular. I was lucky enough to go there for work. And it's a fantastic place to visit. Very different from lots of the places you might otherwise go. So that one was true. Okay. Number 2. When I was 11, I was so bad at sewing that my grandmother had to visit every year to finish off a needlework project for me. And that, again, I'm ashamed to say, is true. I was useless at sewing. I was absolutely useless. I can now sew a button on and do a hem, but that's about it. I mean, you know, give me a pattern. Oh, my goodness. A sewing machine? How the hell do you thread the bloody things? Anyway, my poor grandmother, who was then in her 80s, had to come up to Nottingham, where I was young, when I was living, and finish off my needlework project for me every year. Okay. Number 3. When I was a teacher at a school fete, people threw custard pies at me. And it was an experience I wouldn't like to repeat. Actually, that's false. I did teach at a very posh school in Bristol for a year. And the children were often challenging, as were the parents. But generally, they were very nice people. But no, they didn't throw custard pies at me. Okay. Number 4. My first drink of Coca-Cola was given me by a young Des O'Connor. Now, this is absolutely true. My parents had a friend who had been an actress. And she was friends with someone called Wyn Calvin, who was in the pantomime at Nottingham Theatre Royal. And she took us to the pantomime, took me and my mother. My brothers and sister were left behind, haha. Anyway, after the pantomime, we went backstage to visit Wyn Calvin. And during the course of our visit, what's his name? Des O'Connor. Sorry, Des. Des O'Connor came in, very young Des O'Connor, with a cold, and offered us some Coca-Cola. And my goodness, I was 6. And this was like exotic, my goodness. Exotic beyond anything I had ever experienced before. So it really made an impact on me, that did. Coca-Cola. Ah, Des O'Connor. Right. Number 5. 3 burly firemen once had to rescue me from a locked ladies' loo. And I'm really sorry, but I'm afraid that is also true. It was in the 80s, and everybody had a perm in the 80s, you know, like a kind of shaggy type perm. And I was in the middle of having it done, rollers in and everything, and I asked if I could go to the loo. I went up to the ladies' loo and got locked in. The lock just broke, it wouldn't work. And the girls at the hairdressers couldn't kind of break in. So they called the fire brigade. Oh dear God. Well, I mean, if there's anything worse than being rescued from the ladies' loo by kind of 3 firemen who were vastly amused, it was being rescued from the ladies' loo in perming rollers. You know, I mean, it was a vastly embarrassing incident in my life. So, but it was true. It did happen. Okay. Right. And now the last round of this quiz, which is like dialogue, and you have to guess which comedy programme it comes from. Okay, the first one. Well, who would he be like? Hitler or one of those mad fellas? Oh, worse than Hitler. You wouldn't find Hitler playing jungle music at 3 o'clock in the morning. And the answer to that is A, Father Ted. Father Ted. And it's Father Ted and Dougal talking. Okay. Question 2. Is there anywhere they do French food? Yes, France, I believe. They seem to like it there. And the swim would certainly sharpen your appetite. You'd better hurry up. The tide leaves in 6 minutes. And the answer to that was B, Fawlty Towers. And it was, of course, Basil Fawlty talking to a guest who had the impertinence to inquire whether there was anywhere around about that did French food. Okay. Question 3. And this is the one that has some obscenities in it, which I have slightly modified. Things have really changed. Girls might be about to notice us for who we really are. Well, you're fecked then, because you're a twit. And the answer to that was B, The In-Betweeners. A very, very funny, rather dirty programme, rather explicit, but very funny. And moving on to another programme which is not as explicit, but can be explicit and also very funny. What's wrong with saying funny? What? Dear me. What's wrong with saying fanny? We all have one. I don't. You are one. And that is number A, is Derry Girls. And if you haven't watched Derry Girls, go to All 4 and watch it. It is brilliant. It is so funny. I really love that programme. Right, and now the last of our quiz. Morris dancing is the most fatuous, 10th-rate entertainment ever devised by man. 40 effeminate blacksmiths waving pieces of cloth they've just wiped their noses on. How it's still going on in this day and age, I'll never know. And the answer to that was B, Blackadder. And it was Blackadder having one of his rants, in this case, about Morris dancing. Okay, folks, well, that's the end of our April Fool's Day for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the rest of the morning. You might have an April Fool's joke played on you, or you might play one on someone. In which case, I hope it all ends in lots of laughs, and have a lovely day. Love you all. Bye-bye for now. Take care. You see, come on, where's me finish?